All right, it's Beantown Fantasy Football. It's Week 6. This is the tight end and team defense edition. With me is Mark Fury. I'm the Jaker. Let's roll. Who are you starting at tight end going into Week 6?
I'm starting Brent Celek against the Oakland Raiders. Celek, the Magnum TE, has emerged as one of the best tight ends in the NFL. McNabb loves him. Kevin Cobb loves him. There are plenty of footballs to go around for Celek. They got Deshaun Jackson at receiver. Jeremy Maclin had a good week. But I see the Oakland Raiders corners being able to shut these guys down, especially Jackson, because he's going to draw a heavy dose of Nnamdi Asomugha. There's going to be a lot of space over the middle for Celek. Oakland has trouble covering the tight ends. They have trouble covering everybody except for Asomugha's guy. And I expect Celek to have a huge day this week.
All right, Magnum TE. You heard it here first. I love it. Now, who are you not going to show some love for in Week 6 at tight end?
I have no love for Chris Cooley against the Kansas City Chiefs. Sure, he's one of the top tight ends in the league. Very talented. You probably spent a pretty high draft pick on him. One of the top tight ends taken. But the bottom line is Chris Samuels is hurt. They're asking him to block more to pick up the slack and keep Jason Campbell standing. Last week when he was asked to block, he ended up with no catches. It could happen again this week because they're going to need to keep Campbell standing if they want to have a chance to win. Sure, they lose one of their best receivers, but it's better than losing their quarterback. So you should bench Chris Cooley.
Boy, that's a pretty bold prediction. I mean, when you look at the lack of wide receivers, the lack of catching on Washington to bench Chris Cooley, I'm with it, but it's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, the 0 catches speak for themselves. They're missing their best lineman, and they're going to need someone to pick it up.
Well, let me tell you who's not going to be picking it up this week, and that is going to be Visanthe Shiancoe of the Minnesota Vikings. While there is some chemistry there with Brett Favre, Shiancoe has been primarily a red zone threat, so he's pretty much all or nothing. I'm looking for big games from Bernard Berrien and more of the running game going this week. I think it's probably a good bet to go ahead and bench Shiancoe. It's going to be all or nothing with him, and I think this week it could be nothing.
It's always a gamble when you play a guy like that. A couple weeks ago, he had 1 yard and 1 touchdown. It's a great 6 points out of the tight end is always solid. Maybe not as much this year, but it's still nothing that you're going to complain about. But he could end up also giving you a big fat 0, especially if your team doesn't count fractional points.
Absolutely, but let me tell you who I do like this week, and that is Zach Miller of the Oakland Raiders going up against Philadelphia. Philadelphia is featuring two of the best corners in the league, in Asante Samuel and Sheldon Brown. But while that might be bad news for Louis Murphy, I don't think it's going to be bad news at all for Zach Miller. I think if there's one guy who is at least guaranteed of a catch, not big yardage. No one's going to get big yardage on the Oakland Raiders, not right now. But if you're looking for 50 yards and a score going into the bye week, you need a tight end. You could do a lot worse than Zach Miller.
Oh, definitely. He's a heck of a player, and if Russell can get on the same page as him, you never know. Maybe he can get into the end zone.
Stranger things have certainly happened this season, let me tell you. All right, moving on to team defense. This week, I love Cincinnati going against the Houston Texans. Now, why you say, well, Houston, they've got Andre Johnson, they have Kevin Walter. Cincinnati has been shutting out every major wide receiver they have faced this year. Everybody that's gone into Cincy thinking they were going to throw against them, it just has not happened. And I think it's about time you really start taking Cincinnati for real. Go ahead and start Cincinnati's defense this weekend.
Oh, they look awesome so far.
Okay, well, Cincinnati is definitely one that should be in your lineup. But this week, on the defense rests, Mark Fury, who is not going to be in your starting lineup Week 6. Who should the fans bench at the team defense position?
Well, the defense rests with the New York Football Giants. They're the top defense in the league, but I have 2 words for their owners: Drew Brees. Do you really want to play a defense against Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints? I'm not saying it's going to be a disaster where they're going to put up negative points, where they're going to get blown out of the building, but I don't see them scoring you a whole heck of a lot of points either. The Saints are going to put points on the board. They do every week, no matter who they play against. You got better options this week. You can maybe throw in a Cincinnati, like the Jaker said, who might still be available if you leave sleeping on them. Carolina is a good matchup against Tampa Bay. We got New England against Tennessee. We got Washington plays some pretty strong pass defense. I like all of them better than the Giants this particular week. Now, the G-men are reliable. You can go back to them as soon as they leave New Orleans and not worry about it for the rest of the year.
That's a gutsy call right there, I gotta tell you. I gotta tell you too, I think that New Orleans Giants game has got to be the game of the week. I think you're certainly looking at two real Super Bowl contenders there. Whoever wins this game, I think, is gonna, go far.
They have the inside track to home field advantage, whoever wins this.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Beantown Fantasy Football. We've been talking tight ends and team defense. We hope that this is a good week for you. It's definitely always a good week for us when you're here with us. Join us here again next week. For Mark Fury, I'm the Jaker. We'll see you around.